Welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive into some pretty provocative source material alleging the 2023-2024 Gaza conflict served as a kind of, well, a strategic priming event for a massive economic restructuring.
That's right. The analysis frames the destruction not just as a tragic consequence, but almost as a necessary financial prerequisite. And the core document these sources point to is this proposal called the Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration and Transformation Trust. You know, the Great Trust.
Great Trust, okay. And the financial projection in this plan is, what was it?
It's frankly staggering. The plan projects a $385 billion return. That's on a $100 billion investment, all within just 10 years.
Okay, let's unpack this. A return like that, I mean, that's astronomical. It implies getting hold of a hugely valuable asset for next to nothing. What's the unprecedented condition here?
Well, it all hinges on getting the land cheaply. The sources argue this was achieved through something they term eminent domain by military force.
Eminent domain by force. Explain that.
Think about it. Before the conflict, developing that incredibly dense coastal strip, you're talking about compensating and resettling over 2 million people. The costs would be, well, insurmountable, right?
Right, prohibitive. So the argument is the destruction itself acted as a kind of brutal land clearance, zeroing out those costs.
Exactly. That's the core thesis in these sources. Eliminating those compensation costs is presented as the key factor enabling that $385 billion profit projection because it clears the way for the ultimate goal.
It is.
Transforming the entire strip into the Riviera of the Middle East, that's the phrase used, a high-end, low-density development, obviously totally incompatible with Gaza as it was.
And achieving that vision requires... well, it requires the population not being there.
Precisely. The plan explicitly mandates the, and I quote, temporary relocation of all of Gaza's more than 2 million population.
Temporary. The sources likely treat that word with some skepticism.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating here is the continuity the sources draw. They connect this mass displacement directly to, you know, the longer history of dispossession, the Nakba.
Yeah.
They argue this provides strong evidence for the actus reus, the actual guilty act needed to potentially prove crimes like genocide or ethnic cleansing under international law.
That's a very serious legal framing based on the alleged intent behind the displacement, and ensuring this temporary move becomes permanent involves specific players, right?
Yes, the sources point to a network. From the earlier 2020 Peace to Prosperity plan linked to figures like Jared Kushner, up to the current framework involving people like Tony Blair in designing governance structures.
Okay, so there's political backing alleged, but how do you financially lock in the displacement? What's the mechanism?
This is where it gets really innovative, according to the sources. The mechanism is land tokenization.
Land tokenization, like crypto assets. How does that work to extinguish property rights? It sounds complex.
It's designed to be. The idea is landowners exchange their legal property rights, their deeds, for a digital token.
Okay.
But here's the trick, right? The internationally recognized rate of return is tied to the physical land. Restitution means getting the actual property back.
Right.
By converting that tangible land into a digital financial instrument, a token, you detach the claim from the physical place. Suddenly, any future claim isn't for the land itself, but for this, potentially volatile digital asset. It effectively bypasses the right of return.
So it economically discourages or even prevents mass return by financializing the claim away from the actual soil. Wow.
Exactly. And to manage this new reality, this new asset base, the plan proposes a new governance structure.
Which is?
A U.S.-led multilateral custodianship. They call it a board of peace. The sources suggest its purpose is really to de-sovereignize the territory, completely bypassing any existing Palestinian authority.
And this board would just manage the land itself.
No. The real strategic prize, highlighted in the documents, is offshore. Control over the untapped Gaza marine gas field. It's estimated to be worth tens of billions.
Ah, okay. So now it connects. Controlling that energy resource fits a wider geopolitical goal mentioned in the sources strengthening the U.S. hold in the East Mediterranean. This isn't just real estate speculation, it's resource capture.
Precisely. The structure seems designed, according to these sources, to secure both the land for development and the energy resources, maximizing strategic gains.
So what does this all mean? When you put all these pieces from the sources together, what's the conclusion they draw?
The conclusion presented is that the Great Trust isn't really about humanitarian reconstruction. It's framed as calculated capitalist expansionism, using the language of finance to mask geopolitical objectives.
Right, and the financialization itself becomes the lock.
That's the final provocative thought, isn't it? Turning the land, a people's home and heritage, into a multi-hundred-billion-dollar asset base potentially makes the displacement irreversible through financial means. So here's something for you to think about. What happens when the value of that huge asset, managed by private firms like BCG and this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, becomes the main guarantee against peace and return?